We're going to cover a couple things pretty soon. Good morning. Hey, Gilbert, I was waiting for today's live and checked a few times, and here you are. Looks like I manifested this. Yes, you did. Good job. Okay, the idea I want to cover first is I did speak a little bit yesterday about Morrnah Simeona. I want to read her Wikipedia page real quick because she is such an amazing woman, a healer, Morrnah, Simeona. That is a lady that taught Hugh Len the art and craft of Ho'oponopono. I bring this up because I did cover her a little bit yesterday, but I want to read her Wikipedia. It's very short, but it shows you the power of what one person can be if in with their life if they choose. This woman chose to be a healer, born of a certain family. But let me read it real quick. Morrnah Simeona, Morrnah, middle name Nalamaku, last name Simeona, born May 19th, 1913. She left the party on February 11th, 1992. She was recognized as a kahuna lapa'au, that's also known as a healer in Hawaii, and taught her updated version of Ho'oponopono throughout the United States, Asia, and Europe. A kahuna lapa'au, what is that? Morrnah was born, let me see, we just said that, in Honolulu, May 19th, 1913, to Kimo, Keo, and Lilia Simeona, both native Hawaiians. Her mother, Lilia, was one of the last recognized kahuna la'au kahea, or priest who heals with words. Morrnah was a practitioner of Lomi Lomi massage, and for 10 years owned and operated health spas at the Kahala, Hilton, and Royal Hawaiian hotels. If anybody doesn't recognize, the Royal Hawaiian is on the beach in Waikiki, right next door to the Sheraton. Sheraton just remodeled their whole patio. I have friends who just stayed there a couple years ago. And they have an infinity pool now that runs over, and you see Diamond Head in the background. It's beautiful. I didn't find a picture to show you, but that, I think it's a Sheraton, was just remodeled right next door to that pink hotel. I think it's a 2-story, right on the Waikiki, right on the beach, more towards the west side of Waikiki Beach. And Morrnah Simeona used to do massage therapy in the lounge in that hotel. As I'm reading here, Morrnah was a practitioner of Lomi Lomi massage, and for 10 years owned and operated health spas at the Kahala Hilton and Royal Hawaiian hotels. Among her massage clients at the Hilton Spa were Lyndon Johnson, Jackie Kennedy, Arnold Palmer. In 1983, she was recognized as a kahuna lapa'au healer, also known as a healer, and honored as a living treasure of Hawaii by the Honpa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii. Now, to Ho'oponopono, just to talk about, remember now, when we talk about Ho'oponopono, all we're talking about is love and gratitude. And what this one lady did with it is just super incredible. And then, of course, taught Hugh Lin, learned from her, as I described a little bit of that yesterday. To continue the article, in 1976, she began to modify the traditional Hawaiian forgiveness and reconciliation process of Ho'oponopono to the realities of the modern day. Her version of Ho'oponopono was influenced by her Christian, which is Protestant and Catholic, education and her philosophical studies about India, China, and Edgar Cayce. The combination of Hawaiian traditions, praying to the divine creator, and connecting problems with reincarnation and karma resulted in a unique new problem-solving process. That was self-help rather than the traditional Hawaiian group process. She had no qualms about adapting traditional concepts to contemporary applications, though she was criticized by some Hawaiian purists. Quote, her system uses Ho'oponopono techniques to create a working partnership among the three parts of the mind or self, which she calls by Hawaiian names as well as by the terms subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. She presented trainings and lectures on Ho'oponopono to the United Nations in nearly a dozen states in the United States and in more than 14 countries, including Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, France, Russia, Japan. She presented to schools of higher learning, such as the University of Hawaii and Johns Hopkins University, to medical facilities, religious institutions, business organizations. In 1982, she organized the first World Symposium of Identity of Man. A reporter noted there was something very calming and soothing about Simeona's presence and her voice, a sense of serenity about her, as she talks about teaching people how to relieve stress and attain peace of mind. She took a tradition that was very almost rigid in its application and flexibly used it to a modern application. Why not? Let's take these teachings and apply them to our life now. And then if you ask me, Hugh Lin, and flexibly even treated it more with a modern approach. To spread her Ho'oponopono process, she founded Pacifica Seminars in the 70s, and in 1980, the Foundation of I. In 1990, she started Pacifica Seminars in Germany. Simeona wrote 3 textbooks: Self-Identity Through Ho'oponopono, Basic 1. Basic 2, you start using after 2 years of applying the first book. And then Basic 3 to use after 5 years. The recommended waiting times for Basic 2 and 3 was for developing deep respect for the divine presence. In 1990, the English original of Basic 1 was officially translated and printed in German and French. In late fall 1990, her last journey for lectures and seminars took her through Europe to Jerusalem. On January 16, 1991, she came back to Germany, where she lived quietly at a friend's house in Kirchheim near Munich until her death on February 11, 1992. March 25th, 1992, a couple weeks later, or several weeks, maybe a month almost, month and a half, U.S. Senator Daniel Akaka of Hawaii, eulogized Simeona in the Congressional Record. He noted she had learned that the original plaster cast of the cast iron Statue of Freedom, which stands on top of the dome of the United States Capitol, was being kept in storage. She raised $25,000 to refurbish and restore it, and as a result, it was moved and placed on display in the Russell Senate Office Building, now in the Capitol Visitor Center, where Akaka said it would serve as a remembrance of Simeona. So she definitely, that's the end of the article, she definitely received some recognition for her abilities. I want to point out with Morrnah the idea that we're just talking, again, try and reconcile this with Neville. It's so simple because all she was using was love and gratitude, and healing with love and gratitude. Just the power of one person is beyond comprehensible. One person. You want to know the value of your life? Have someone hold you underwater and see how fast you consider the value something precious. That's a joke, but the idea is once you're underwater and you can't get air, you'll find out how precious your life really is really fast. I say that because one person has so much capacity for so much. Once you decide and start to set your desire in a path of your own feeling, what feels right to you, head in that direction. That's the opening. Morrnah Simeona, of course, Dr. E. Haleakala Hugh Lin was her student. And as I described yesterday, a little bit of his story. I won't go into that now, but I just wanted to bring her up as the teacher because I didn't feel like I gave her a good enough introduction. So there it is. So let's look at the chat and see where we are. See where we are. Pray soon. There is a chapter in the book, The Law and the Promise, and it talks about the striking similarity between the story of the book Futility and the Titanic ship incident. What are your thoughts on that? That's very interesting. And greetings to Mo Siala. The Titanic incident you're talking about, where the book was written before, and then of course everything came to be that transpired in the book seemed to transpire in reality. Now I don't know about that book. I haven't read it, but it is a fascinating, and I remember this exact thing you're talking about. And, some people, it's easy to say something like it's a coincidence, but no, it's not a coincidence. Our beliefs and thoughts and emotions create our reality. So that book obviously got a hold of people on a certain level that they felt it could be possible. When you hear somebody talking about a subject and they're going off the deep end on negative, you can reel them back and push them towards the positive and say, why are you going that direction? Come back over here. And a book like that and a tragic incident like that, to me, is, Seth would describe it as where the mass of reality had the expectation of that. The book comes out, yes, maybe not everybody read the book, but the what did Seth call it? It's like a co-created reality. It's where everybody together rises as a mass to an expectation of an incident and co-create the incident because of the expectation of what they'll get in reaction to it. Like our dreams, when you have a dream, man, my dreams this morning, whoo! But like when you have a dream, a lot of times the deeper you, the wisdom deep inside of you, him, you're made in his image, is trying to get you to react and go to a direction you desire to go. So back to Morrnah, when she went into the field and the spices and the flowers were calling her name, she heard them. Inside she heard them. They called to her. She went over there and they spoke to her. So she had that opening in her desire here. Now that's inside of one person. When we get together, we also are a mass that has that same kind of inner creative ability. It's harder to describe. It's more in the Seth material where it's more clear. I like Neville's approach to everything, where our individual imagination puts us into situations individually and then in mass. Then we join a group. And then we're talking about in beliefs and consciousness. We're not talking about physically. We're talking about in imagination. If in imagination you are in a negative space, then you attract other people in that same space. You come together through looking at videos, listening to a certain talk host, listening to certain subjects in the news. You put yourself into that space and that state, specifically that state, and then others in that same state join forces. Those forces, I'm trying to get to the dream aspect. Those forces often together desire to learn something or to fulfill a desire within the group or within the individual. When you go into a dream, usually the communications happening in the dream or the events are trying to get you to react in a certain way so then you could fulfill what your desire is poised at. So he made us in his image, and there's no judgment, there's no right or wrong. So if we have a desire, let's say we believe the world is full of poverty or the world's going in a negative direction, we're going to attract more of that because that's what we think. So we take our desire and focus on that, then we see everything in the world that reflects that. But you can just as easily take that same energy, your consciousness, and focus it on the positive and see how abundance is constantly happening. After it rains, it just rained here this week. After it rains, you see, when it rains, a storm and drops fall from the sky, and all of a sudden everything is green. Everything shows you, my favorite analogy is everything shows you constantly how abundant you are, because everything's always green, especially after it rains. But each year you've lived, you've seen the trees come and the leaves grow and then they fall off, and this cycle constantly perpetuates. It never stops. We're the same way. So we go through cycles. So we can easily keep focused on the positive versus the negative. And I don't mean to ignore the negative like it doesn't exist, like this ship and the story of that book, but it is, where do you put yourself in learning, or what are your commonalities? Hopefully this makes sense. Greetings from Mo, greetings back. Pray soon. The book was written in 1898 and the Titanic sunk in 1912. Everything was almost the same to the finest details. I remember that. The ship's name is in the book was Titan. Yeah, it's fascinating. It is a very fascinating subject and it blows my mind. So I wanted to cover a couple also comments on the channel, because there's been some good ones. There's always some good comments. Let me try and refresh this. Newest. When does the next full-length Neville lecture come out? From Max Chastain. This is a new comment. I don't know. I think I'm going to record one today or tomorrow, because I have been off. I've been doing the live so much, Max Chastain, 4789. So it'll probably be today or tomorrow. I'll record it, and it'll be out within a day. So yeah, I really feel I'm missing those too. I believe me. A comment on embracing the divine, overcoming fear of sinning against the Holy Spirit. That was a short, and JTWS124 wrote, "Don't know who you are, but I am grateful." And I said, thank you. I appreciate you too. That was a very nice comment. Unlocking the power of imagination. Your mind creates reality. That was a short. ROHP wrote a great comment. If a woman dresses extremely provocatively, or if one's wife doesn't want to engage in marital sex, is looking at the woman a sin? Great question. My response, good question. I says, Neville would say the issue is never the woman or the circumstance. The responsibility is always in what you imagine. Looking with lust is using imagination to miss the mark. But that same power can be turned to love and fulfillment. You're using consciousness here. The act itself is mental. So if you see something and you lust and you imagine an event with a person, as the great example this is, then it's already happened. There is no physical necessary. It already literally occurred, as Neville would describe it. Remember the word sin, and I wanted to try and steer this response to the idea that sin, because the question was, is looking at the woman a sin? Well, sin, in the frame of that question, means the ethical, moral judgment of sin. But sin, the word sin doesn't mean that. The word sin means missing the mark. So my response to continue was, remember the word sin means missing the mark. Missing the mark means not fulfilling your own desire. And of course, if desire did not exist within our own beings in here, we would never procreate and die out as a species. So there's that. And that was my response. So the idea of sin as we're taught is not the way Neville interpreted the concept. In Neville's whole language, body of work, the word sin means missing the mark. Missing the mark means missing what you desire in your life. So if you're in a situation and you don't feel like you're fulfilling the desire in you, then you see things you wish you would be doing. It could be skydiving. It could be that woman who's dressed extremely provocatively. It could be anything. It could be eating a food. It could be all these things. If you're not fulfilling the desire inside of you, then you see it, and then mentally it's already done. You don't even have to go eat the food. You don't have to go skydiving. You don't have to go sleep with the woman who's dressed provocatively. It all is already done here. But in missing the mark, or the word sin, means you're not driving towards your own desire. The Neville definitions and terminology have a lot to do with how we reconcile what we were taught about religion, how we learned it, what it means, sin, redemption. All of these terms are all definitely different in the way Neville broke them down. So hopefully that made sense. ROHP 1283. Next comment. Thanks for these shorts. This one was on the short, Unlocking the Power of Imagination. Your mind creates reality. Thanks for these. As a man thinketh-esque today. I responded with a heart. Let's see, where are we? Next comment. Oh, this is a really interesting one. Apollo Yench, who has been in our lives. Don't know if you'll be here today, but we'll read your comment. It's definitely a long one, but why not? Manifestation Q&A from 919, which was yesterday's live. Apollo wrote, and I'll try and pull out, or I'll just read the whole thing. He was talking about, somebody commented about in yesterday's live about using substances, DMT or LSD and things like that. I read that comment and I responded. My response was, in the 3D world, nothing in the 3D is going to affect the 4D as much as just your thoughts can affect the 4D. The 4D is where all reality is, as Neville has taught us. The reality is on the inside. Everything out here is a reflection. And the discussion was whether or not we use something in the 3D to affect us in here. And this has been happening for eons. I mean, you know, mind-altering substances to get that spiritual attitude going. But I'll read the comment now here. So, Apollo Jens, it's an interesting topic regarding the exogenous, excuse me. I get into the Neville biblical scriptural terms, and then I got to go back and forth. It's an interesting topic, the exogenous substances and manifestations. On the one hand, we know on the 3D level that our bodies have endocannabinoid system, endogenous opioid system, as well as producing endogenous DMT when we dream. So our bodies do create these. And at death and during mystical experiences, thanks to Dr. Dispenza's work. So we know this, we're aware of these, what our body produces. It's like intermittent fasting. Your body creates HGH, human growth hormone. In fasting, your body creates hormones too. So there's no doubt that your physicality is going to, even in the way you eat or drink, is going to create these reactions. So, and he's referring to Dispenza's work, Dr. I think it's Joe Dispenza's work. On the other, though, of course, thanks to Neville's work, I think on the other hand, Seth's teachings, Neville's work, and other great spiritual teachers, we recognize these as effects rather than causes. But just as Neville taught that one could back into or reverse engineer a state by consciously conjuring up emotions, feelings that we would feel if we were experiencing it. It stands to reason that we can induce such experiences via exogenous forms of these compounds, which explains why humans, cultures, have been using them for hundreds, if not thousands, or even longer of years for spiritual inner world exploration, for sure. That isn't to say that I disagree with your statement about the organic endogenous experiences being potentially more clear, though. 4D versus 3D. I was explaining you're going to get a deeper clarity or you're going to get clearer colors in and out of body than you will a drug-induced high. That was where I was coming from. In all my experience with out-of-bodies, lucid dreaming, all of this stuff. Until you've had an out-of-body and experience the color, and then come back and wake up here and see the pastel thing that this is, that this 3D world is, until you experience that color on that level, you won't know until you experience it. Once you experience it, and then if you have had experience with these kind of mind-altering or mood-altering substances, you'll still know once you have the out-of-body and the colorful out-of-body that it completely blows away anything you could experience with the whatever, mushrooms or LSD or DMT, in my opinion. But this is a great comment still. I love it. It isn't to say I disagree with your statement about the organic endogenous experiences being potentially more clear, though. Having had endogenously stimulated mystical experiences as well as having utilized psychedelics and cannabinoids in the past as well, I do agree that the naturally triggered experiences have been the most profound. But I also can't say that I haven't received great insights and enhanced ability to step into states while utilizing exogenous substances as well, as they do tend to silence the inner critic monkey mind due to turning down the activity in the frontal cortex, as well as seemingly temporarily the ability of different areas of the brain in being able to communicate with each other. I was just studying binaural beats this morning. Binaural beats is another way we can induce the same. Last paragraph. I think the only danger, if you want to call it that, is in making such substances cause God power rather than simply as tools, which we as God, I am, which is what we are, have created to use in our potential benefit when used correctly. And now, definitely a great point. Neville said he gave us grapes, he gave us grain, and he gave us the knowledge on how to ferment it into a substance that then we can enjoy, like alcohol. So there's nothing really against alcohol. Never you're going to hear me say against any of this stuff. But it's like, after so much experience myself and seeing what I see in my out of bodies and lucid dreams, I can say that they haven't been induced by mind altering substances. The most clear out of bodies I've had, the most amazing ones in my experience. This is a very, very good point. I want to come back to it. I think the only danger, if you want to call it that, is in making such substances that cause God or power rather than simply as tools. Very good point. And Neville said as much, which we as God I am have created to use our potential to our potential benefit when used correctly. I fully agree with you there, especially when Neville touched the same exact subject. And for the record, I also do feel that these substances shouldn't be used carelessly or abused, but instead as sacraments or entheogens and used deliberately with purpose if we are going to. I totally agree with you. Just my 2 cents in experience, peace, heart, very, very cool. I said, what a great perspective. Cultures have always explored altered states, whether through ritual or substances, and you're right, it can be a way of reverse engineering the feeling of the state. The state is what we're after. And I said even Hollywood picked up on that with the movie Altered States. And if anybody remembers that movie from 1980, talking about way back, I was in junior high school when that came out. That movie was profound. It's totally on the same subject as we're talking about here. If you haven't seen it and you have an hour and a half to spare, check it out. It's pretty interesting. What I said next was that what I love about Neville is he always points us back to our own imagination as the real power. And I said substances may open the door for a moment, but imagination is what keeps you there and makes it real in your 3D. So you have a substance help you get to a feeling or a state. Great. You now have a feeling of that state. Now you have something you can hold on to once you experience the state, whatever that state would be for you. Now we want to take a feeling of a state and make it show up in our reality all the time. What is that feeling about? Is that feeling about wealth? Is it about health? Is it about freedom? Is it about love? Is it about power? These are the main departments. Whatever you're experiencing in that state. Or is it enlightenment? Enlightenment leads to freedom. The whole body of work known as the Neville Goddard material to me is symbolic of freedom. To me, this whole body of work is symbolic of pure freedom, because with the knowledge and the practice, you can do anything. Once you learn how to wield it, once you learn how to use your imagination in a concerted way to get what you desire, plain and simple. Once you learn that process and get that skill set down, pure freedom, blows me away. So when I says imagination is what keeps you there, I mean it keeps you in the state. So but it doesn't matter the substance or how you got the feeling of that state. Once you have an idea of the state, it could be with alcohol. It could be with alcohol. It could be with THC or CBD or DMT, LSD, mushrooms. It could be with any substance in the 3D. But if you get the feeling of the state, you want to hold on to what that felt like. Because these are temporary, even without a substance, you're still only getting a temporary hold of it. So once you get that temporary hold of it, you got to try and harness that. When I'm sitting down with my friend in the restaurant and we're looking back at my car and I'm saying, how does it feel to be looking at our car in the parking spot? We felt blank. We had to try and fill in the idea. How does it feel to be here accomplishing that? Having accomplished it. Because I want to repeat this, and I want to repeat it for everything. How did it feel that it seemed so easy? And so we had a discussion about that, because it felt blank in our first response. It felt like, I don't know, it seemed natural. Of course it seems natural. It always seems natural. Pray soon. Can I alone end Russia-Ukraine war just by imagining Putin and Zelensky handshake in a press conference? The funny thing is, all his works are done, all states are done, all in my Father's house are many mansions. The only answer to that question is yes. But you have to remember, there's so many probable realities in existence. All his states are done. All states exist in one moment. So the state of that result exists already as much as the one you're experiencing now with me. So you'll jump into a timeline or multiple dimensional reality where that happens if you give it enough focus and intensity and belief. You'll become there. That one exists right now as aside the one we're in now. We're in a wheel together now. You'll jump into a different probable wheel where that happens if you give it the right focus and attention. So yes, definitely. Pray soon. If all our desires are divine, then why did Neville say that live nobly so that you can go back and revise? If all our desires are divine, then why did Neville say that live nobly so that you can go? Okay, so what is your desire? Pray soon. That's the idea. And I see a response from Queen. Remote viewing, which is another subject. The probable reality of the peace of these leaders exists. And as Queen's comment goes in there and says that's remote viewing, you can go see it and then come back here, but you can also show up there, and you will be it'll be a completely new probable reality. Okay, so let's break this down real quick, and we'll get back to the desire and the living nobly. Every moment, as Seth teaches this concept, and it's one concept, it's like a red pill. You have to get it in there and understand this. Each moment is a now, and in that now, you are born anew. Each moment is a right now, and in that right now, you're brand new. Now, in your newness right now, you're brand new. In there is baked in an idea of the past, and in there is baked in an idea of the future. So sitting here right now, I can tell you of my childhood or my best friends or my associates or my classes or my Navy experience, because right now in this brand new moment, it's baked in. So each new moment, you have nothing but opportunity to change with revision how you see these other things called past and future. Revision gives you the opportunity to change what's there. But what's there is brand new. What's there is an illusion to your right nowness. Your right nowness is where all the power is. All power springs forth into now, right now. Nothing in this past illusion or the idea of someday I will, like Brian Tracy would call it, someday I'll. It's an island everybody's trying to get to. Someday I'll. That's his joke. The future illusion is someday I'll do this and someday I'll do that. Or the past illusion is I can't do it now because I had these experiences over here. These are holding me back and there's blockage. But in reality, everything is springing forth from a now moment. In the right now, you've created all of this. So in the Seth world and teachings, not only is it all brand new, you are brand new. The same thing Neville says, when you leave your body, you show up in a 20-year-old. Now, in that new 20-year-old self, you're brand new and you have a past. In the 20-year-old self, when you show up, some schools of thought call that a walk-in, where an entity walks into a being who's not doing anything. Something steps in or walks in. There's a whole theory of that, but I don't get into that. I'd like to stick to the Neville approach. You wake up in a 20-year-old body, you're brand new. Now everything in the past of that person exists, in the idea of the future of that person exists, but it's you now. So the challenges you are taking there into the new self also are still existing in you. So you have to put all this opportunity into work. Where is it all coming from? Right now. In your now, everything is brand new. And here's the kicker, is every moment is brand new. Even if you sit here at any age and imagine your past, it's a brand new past because you just created it. If you sit here and imagine any potential future, it's brand new also. So when you simmer this down, you're always in a brand new experience. So your day is always brand new. And my question always constantly is, what are you going to do with it? What habits do you have? I was watching a guy today he has a book called The Holographic Universe. He was born in 1946. He died in 1992. His name is Michael Talbot, Talbot. Wonderful video. I'll put a link into this description later. He was talking, and during his talking, he was saying exactly the same stuff Neville says. Basically, this guy's a scientist. He has about 3 or 4 fiction novels and about 4 novels on this whole idea of a holographic universe. During his discussion, it's in like a 90-minute interview. It's in 2 parts, but it's in 90 minutes total. Again, I'll put a link. But in that interview, he says something very interesting. He says, and Neville said this in my law series of videos, where when you have an assumption, the assumption is, I want to be, fill in the blank. I am now, as I'm just discussing about time, fill in the blank. What do I want to be, the man or woman I want to be? I want to be wealthy. I want to be healthy. I want to be in love and married. I want to be free. Whatever that is that you don't feel you're experiencing. So in your now, you start to put that into an assumption that I am that. I stake the claim, I am that I am. So you make an assumption, and in those law series of videos, Neville said in there that the assumption itself takes on its own life and starts traveling to try and complete itself. You're here, but you want to be here. I'm here single, not married. I want to be married, in love with a family. So I'm here. I take the assumption that I am this. I am that I am. Right out of Scripture. Said to Moses, the law. So you assume that. Well, the assumption itself starts to travel there. Now you're sitting here, but the assumption takes a life of its own and tries to propel you. You're like the laggard. You're the one that's trying to catch up to your assumption. Once you stake the claim that you are that, married, in love, with a family, then the reality already exists. The only thing is the lagging of you waking up here. But the assumption is traveling there. Actually, literally, the assumption already woke up there. Now it's trying to bring you there. So the assumption itself has its own life. Now, this doctor in this interview was talking about a habit. How he used to do this. He used to pick his beard. You know, the guy was only 38 years old, I think, when he passed away. He used to pick his beard, and he says, okay, I want to end that habit. So he went cold turkey. Instead of doing this, like he had a beard, short beard, and he would pick the hair. So he decided to quit cold turkey. One day he's writing a book, typing. Back when we used to have to type like that with keys. He said he noticed, he was sitting there, he noticed he was typing with one hand, like the hunt and peck method. He said, as he observed himself typing with one hand, he noticed, very keen mind, this guy's story is amazing. He noticed his other hand was reaching up here, literally for his beard. And he stopped himself because he wasn't conscious of that reach with his hand while this one's typing. He was not consciously aware of the habit, and his point was that it literally has a life of its own. Now, in yesterday's live, I wrote down how to create a habit. You have a morning sats, a midday sats, evening sats, and I wrote down revision in the morning, midday, in the evening. I wrote down a method to try and aim yourself towards creating a habit. Now, we come into the Neville material and we have all kinds of different habits. We're coming from all over the world here to realize How do I change to what I want to be? How do I get better? How do I make my life better? Increase my wealth, increase my health, increase my love. We have to make new habits. But this part of that video, when this doctor was, and there's a lot of amazing, this guy has had out of bodies, lucid dreams, remote viewing, all of it's in this interview. You could look it up. It's called Michael Talbot, Holographic Universe is the name of his book. It's a 90-minute lecture. It's also on YouTube in 3 parts, but I will put the link. And it is a very, very interesting discussion. So I was studying that this morning also, because habit, back to the idea here, if our desires are divine, pray soon, then when did Neville say that? Live nobly so you can go back and revise. So the living nobly aspect is back to the assumption concept. If we don't claim an assumption, like a noble big dream, then we're not going to give it life. We're not going to stake a claim to where we're here, but we want to be here in this noble, big version of our existence. Until we stake the claim, it won't exist in our awareness, even though it already exists. Everything exists. But if we don't stake a claim towards it, we won't start to bring it into being within our experience in the 3D. So I know you added a comment, pray soon. Suppose I imagine a poor friend of mine just got so rich. Is he going to face ego backlash before he becomes rich because of my assumption? I would say no. That's imagining lovingly for another. You imagine a friend sharing with you their new wealth and their new opportunities. And they're coming into money. They're coming into abundance. You're asking if they're going to experience a backlash of change. That's what it sounds like you're asking. Are they going to get an ego backlash? I imagine that's what you mean. But to the person experiencing it that you imagine lovingly for, they see it all as just a coincidence. They see it all as happening so naturally that it was going to happen anyway, whether or not you thought anything. To them, it's their idea that created the wealth. It's their idea that created the opportunity or the coincidental meeting. They are the ones that did it in their experience. The backlash, I don't think that the ego backlash is going to be something to be concerned about. If you're imagining lovingly for another, you just sit back and watch it. You're going to be blown away by it just happening, and it looks all perfectly natural, like you didn't think anything, but you did. You made it. It's a very good question. It won't be an ego backlash, in my opinion, to answer that bluntly. Tanya Flowers, link, please. Sounds interesting. Yeah, I will put that link in. I did just tell you the name of it. It is a very good interview, and it's so Neville. It is so very much Neville. It's like quantum. He even has a book called Quantum Something. I will look him up right now just for the fun of it. We have a little bit of time, and it's probably in my history. Let me tell you right now, and I will put the link in right now if I can. Where did we go? I'll give you the name right off the bat. It's called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. And let me see how I can share this. I'm going to copy it. Can I put? Yeah, I think I can put that in the stream right now. And here it comes. Let me know if you see it there. It should be there now. Next comment, pray soon. What are your thoughts on recording in our own voice how life is going on after all my desires have been fulfilled and listening to it in loop before sleep? I think it's probably the best idea, period. At your own voice is a commanding leadership of your experience. It's not talked about a lot, but it is available. You can find a lot of that information about using your own voice, but it is definitely the most potent. Create your own meditation loops, create your own experience loops. Yes, it's powerful. Let me know, Tanya, if that link doesn't work, but that should do it right there. A most incredible interview. I like watching things like that because it shows you like people like this that were really tied into exactly what Neville was saying, just on a different level. More of the scientific quantum physics level, I guess you could say. A comment came in. The power of I am revealed. Short. A comment from It Is Finished. I am will lead you to the promised land. You believe in God, believe in also in me. I am, because God is I am. Of course, I put a heart back to that because it's a great comment. Linda Mavambella comes back with a comment on embracing the divine, overcoming fear of sinning, which is a short. More good news. Feel somewhat relieved. Thank you. And I said, isn't it wonderful? Great comment. Let me see where we are. Mike from Rome It. Yeah, Mike from Rome It. Hey dear, just a kind suggestion. You can post your shorts as unlisted. Then after 24 hours, upload them as public. Okay, that was a recommendation. I put a heart. A donation from Jay Sunshine, 2407, a couple bucks, $3. Thank you very much. Unlocking the power of imagination. I said thank you very much. Breaking free from misconceptions, the true yoke of Christ. A prayer, hands. Thank you, hands, from Angel Halo. Also to another one, breaking free from misconceptions. I think, oh, that's the computer duplicating it. Okay, so there's some comments right there. Excellent. I'm glad that worked, Tanya. There is so much involved in Pray Soon, especially with your comments, and I think they're wonderful. Back to that meditation concept, when you put it in your own voice, you can use ChatGPT. You can say, my desire in life is to be here. I want to be experiencing this first person. Here's where I am. I want to create. I mean, you can use ChatGPT like this now. It's free, or Gemini, or whichever AI engine you're using, and program a script for yourself. And then guess what? You got a recording device right here. You can literally keep it without music, or you can even add a music track to it. I'm sure you can. I don't know how, but record the track, voice memo, or go on your YouTube or whatever you're using. Get that recorded. Read that script. First person, I am. Obviously, top level is going to be reading first person, I am wealthy. Or create a scene that implies everything. I am now in first class on whatever airline. We're flying over here. We've flown first class 20 times already. You know, you can create a story that goes with an experience of what you want to experience. And because that experience flying first class to your destination is going to already imply everything else that has to be able to provide that. So when you create your meditation loop, make sure you include these kind of concepts. It's a very, very powerful way to do it. If any other questions, because I'm going to be ending shortly. I'll read a couple more comments. I think I caught up to my ones yesterday, so I'm going to scroll down a bit. Let me scroll down farther. Here's a good one. This was on the I Am Love 11-11-1 4 days ago. She said, I know I shouldn't be looking at the middle, but he just said out of nowhere, I'm going to try to get you into the private dinner. This was Irene going to dinner, and we're going to hear back from Irene. The dinner was wonderful, and she's going to the end in her imagination about the experience she's going to have being invited to dinner. We already covered that one. Excuse me. Let me scroll down farther. Didn't realize I've covered so much already. It's great. Deny your senses to manifest your reality as a short. Ghost of JFK wrote, the instant projection is not a lie. It is pure evidence of where your mind and heart have been up to that instant. Stop calling it reality other than to better see what you've been creating thus far. Change yourself. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven within, where all authority resides. Great comment. I believe I already read that one. I put a heart on that. It was a very good one. Let me see if I can scroll down farther. Out of my short facing fear in and out of body experience, Linda Mavambella wrote, I feel like so many emotions couldn't be expressed in words, had to be there to get the attention. And I said, big time. Another comment from Tanya, I like the idea of meditation loops. How to build that out in steps would be very informative. I think I'll do that because I'm working on meditation stuff right now. It's just a lot of things in the hopper, but I think I will definitely do that because it is profoundly effective, very effective. So I'll work on that for sure, Tanya. Pray soon. Let me write that down right now. Don't forget the power of the pen. Pray soon. People who have done SATs properly would know the satisfaction we feel after a good session. Listening to our own voice in loop gives this satisfaction so soon. Very, very true because it's familiar. And Tanya says, did SATs yesterday with Silva. Awesome. Yes, awesome. That in that holographic universe, that guy in there, Michael Talbot, was talking about, I believe it was that one, or he has another interview. I'll put both links in the description of this. He has another interview where he's talking about meditation and how long. No, excuse me. I was studying binaural beats. Another guy, and I'll put this in there too. Another guy was talking about meditation and how if you're in the practice of like monks meditating for 7 hours, and how theta, you know, how the binaural beats will get you into the state of theta, and you can stay in there for 1 hour. As long as it's playing, it's going to hold you. But if you do it without the binaural beats, then basically you'll get to theta, but you'll be out of it so fast. But with the binaural beats, I was studying that this morning, like I said, that helps you maintain this meditative state. And going into SATs and maintaining these states is what we're trying to do, because we're trying to consciously do this activity and then replay our loop of our new creation. Like Neville trying to go up, not try, but Neville was trying to stay in the imagining of going up the gangplank to get to the boat so he can get off Barbados and go back to New York, only by imagining it over and over. And when he drifted, he came back to the bottom and walked up to the top. So this is what we're trying to do in our SATs, is maintain that loop and get the satisfaction and the literal natural feeling of walking those steps over and over, like you've done it already. Like it's as simple as what you had for dinner last night. You remember and feel it naturally as part of your experience. Awesome. Okay, any more? John Wick came back. I love short videos. Need more. And there's many shorts. This weekend's the 2 testimonies from Neville's book. Mo CLA. I talked about she got 600,000 and lost everything. And then he says, great lesson. Wealth does not equal money. Indeed. Pray soon came back. Hi, Tanya. Write a script how your life circumstances are after your desires are fulfilled. Then record it in your phone with emotions and joy. And then before you sleep, play it in loop. I use earphones. Awesome. Yes, I'm always using earphones. Well, that's a very great live. Any more comments? Put them in right now. Otherwise, we're going to shut it down in a second. I'll read another one. Greek Sun wrote on that $600,000. She got $600,000 and lost everything video. She wrote, I have to disagree with Neville on this one. It wasn't the money that caused her paranoia. This was the gal that felt like Neville was going to take her money, so she never went back to Neville's lecture, even though she used Neville to get the inheritance. The Greek Sun wrote, I have to disagree with Neville on this one. It wasn't the money that caused her paranoia. Sounds like after manifesting the money, she went back to assuming lack, or went back to having a lack of consciousness. Her lack consciousness is what manifested her paranoia. It's like the lottery winner that won all the money but then lost it because he didn't transfer his consciousness into wealth. He stayed in the unwealth state and then got the money and then just threw it in every direction. I'm referring to Jack Whitaker, the lottery winner that won $315 million. And then he just squandered it all. His granddaughter died, his daughter died, and all the money they did what they would normally do with that much money, but because they didn't change in here. Some lottery winners will go this is I think what we'll do is we'll do a breakdown of Jack on the next live because it's a very good story. Some lottery winners will take the millions of dollars, like 315 million, for instance, and immediately invest it and then live on the interest. Okay, it sounds reasonable. If you win the lottery in the millions and billions, you want to get the guy that's the attorney for lottery winners right away. Stay anonymous and invest and then live off the interest. But this guy, Jack Whitaker, didn't do any of that. Normal human being. Hey, I got all this money. Well, he immediately gave 10 or 15 or 20% to charity immediately, right after the church, wrote checks immediately, millions of dollars right off the bat. Then he went around squandering the money, basically, giving it away. And it resulted in his granddaughter getting her friends wanting to hang around with her, and drug dealers giving her drugs for the money, friends hanging out with her for money. He would give her $2,000 a week or a day or something, and she just got caught up in drugs, ended up overdosing and getting her, not a nice story. She ended up dying of a drug overdose. And then before she died, the boyfriend that was near her died of a drug overdose. Now she's gone, then his daughter's gone. All these horrible experiences in Jack Whitaker's life, but it's a very valuable lesson about wealth. Because if you just get it handed to you like a lot of us dream about, then I got to change my consciousness fast. I better do this logically. If you're going to get him $300 million, $315 million was his winnings. If you're going to get that much, you get a lawyer immediately to help you change this. Now, if you don't and you follow Jack Whitaker's lead, it's going to be the same story you hear so many times. So you see, the same thing happens in love. And if you go and you experiment and you're single and you're alone and you want to get into a relationship and you go out to back in my time, we'd go to the club where the bands are playing and you'd meet people, or the bar or whatever. You'd meet people, or through your friends, you meet people, you have a party and people come and show up and you meet all kinds of new people having parties. If you throw yourself into a relationship and you're not changed here, maybe you have some hangups about the opposite sex, and you're trying to get into a relationship, to be in a relationship happily, you're going to have that difficulty, and these blocks, they need to be unblocked. If you think the opposite sex is the devil and you want to be in a relationship with the opposite sex, you're going to have to clean that up here, the block, before you try and engage, because it's going to go south. It's going to end up in a fight. Money, I just described. Now love, you have to clean up where you are. You bring love to a relationship to be in a relationship. Health, suppose you need to change your diet to help the cause. All kinds of little adjustments that we need to make when we want to change to become the person we want to be. There's going to be adjustments that are going to show up for you and help you. And then I responded to Greek Son, you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head. I disagree with Neville all the time. Please don't tell him. Back to Jack Whitaker, the lottery winner. He never changed his consciousness about money and was still in the poverty state when he received the millions. His results equaled what he would have done without the money, even without the money. And the guy was in construction, and he had a net worth of over $1 million already. So he wasn't a stranger to money. This lady in Neville's story, the $600,000, was stuck in her state, and of course was reaping the fruits of that state, the poverty state. Even though she had the money, she was in the poverty state, even though her bank account was full. So I said it was a good lesson there. It really is a good lesson. Greek Son came back with a good response. Also, such an awesome lesson that the work isn't over when you get your manifestation. You get your relationship started. That person's there now. The work isn't over. You get the money. It's not over. The work's just starting if you win the lottery. If we want to keep what we have manifested, this is her, I think it's a her, Greek Son, we have to remember to keep the state in that state. Wealth, for instance. If not, by default, we are choosing the opposite. Such a light bulb moment. Shielded by Grace. This is such a great subject. I'll finish with this one. Shielded by Grace came in to add a comment. No, her inner state still broadcasted lack, which is true. Not just in money, in any area there is lack, this can happen. Abundance is not only money. True, our state should be abundant. Yes, again, I always like looking at the green. Look at the trees, look at the grass. It's always green, always abundance. And then Shielded by Grace added exactly. She was responding to different comments. I added, it was an awesome lesson. I'm here to tell you if it applies. I'm here to tell you it applies to any state. Anyone who thinks you just get in a relationship and live happily ever after is totally dreaming. Relationship, at least mine, takes constant maintenance. It's not plug and play. It's plug, play, and evolve. The evolve part takes a serious commitment. It's not for the faint of heart. LOL. For those of you who want to be in love and in marriage, you have to realize it's not just show up and then it's over, it's all done. No, it's a constant evolution. Love is a constant give and receive, and it's a going back and forth like the yin and yang symbol. And I added finally to Shielded by Grace, this is the main reason I highly suggest one to focus on love first out of the love, health, and wealth. It's not one that can be messed up as easily as wealth or health, like Jack Whitaker, the wealth. And it doesn't matter how much love you give, you always have more to give. And then I finished with, someone doesn't want your loving vibes, no worries, it bounces back to you, because we know that from Neville that when you send something as a gift to somebody, imagining lovingly, and they don't want it, it bounces right back to you. It's just the way it works. So there it is, last comment. Pray soon. Is that poor friend again going to get poor because his vibrations and frequency are still the same? Yes, I would say so. Because you're imagining lovingly for a friend. Now they get an opportunity. But, no, excuse me, I didn't realize this is the person you're imagining lovingly for. Now, if you're imagining lovingly for, they go through an opportunity, abundance comes in. If they don't change, that abundance is going to go right out like a bucket of water. It's like holding your hands like this with water, and sooner or later that water finds its way through the cracks. But if that person does have an abundance mindset and you're imagining lovingly and they have abundance here, that cup is going to hold the water as strong as a cup, not like the hands where the water eventually falls out. So you can also add that to your imagining that they do hold the abundance. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, that was our live for today. Hopefully you guys had a good one. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and the rest of your good weekend. And we'll talk to you again